Hello everyone, welcome back to the MP Coding Linux driver development series with Raspberry Pi. In the last two videos, we discussed mutex and spin-lock kernel synchronization techniques. Today, we are going to talk about completion synchronization. In those previous examples, mutexes and spin-locks were used to protect shared data from concurrent access. Both mechanisms are about locking, allowing only one caller to enter a critical section while keeping others out. A completion, however, solves a different kind of problem, signaling between threads. One thread performs some work, while another thread waits for that work to finish. The waiting thread should sleep efficiently, not spin, not poll, but simply sleep until it is notified to wake up. You can think of a completion as the kernel's equivalent of a one-shot event flag. Now, let's see this in action. Here, I have created a simple driver file to start with. In this code, GPIO 20 is configured as an input, and an interrupt is registered on this pin. Whenever the button is pressed, the ISR function is executed, and we increment a counter called press_count. If you have been following this series, this setup should already be familiar to you. We have used this same template multiple times. If you are not sure how GPIO interrupts are configured, I recommend watching my dedicated GPIO IRQ video in this series before continuing. Now, let's implement the completion example. First, we need to include the linux/completion.h header file to use the completion-related APIs. Next, we declare and initialize a completion structure, just like we did with mutexes and spin-locks. We can initialize it dynamically like this, or statically using the declare_completion macro. Here, I will use the static method. So, this declare a completion variable called my_comp, and it will be automatically initialized. Next, to create a kernel thread, we need to include the linux/kthread.h header file. If you are not familiar with kernel threads, I recommend watching my kernel thread video in this series. I won't go into the details again here. To manage the thread, we need a pointer to a task_struct. I will name it waiter_thread. Now, we define the thread function, which will contain the task executed by the thread. Static int waiter_thread_fn, and this function takes a void pointer as an argument, which can be used to pass private data during initialization. Inside the thread function, first we print a message indicating that the thread has started. Then we add the thread main loop, while not kthread_should_stop. As you already know, we use thread_should_stop to control the loop. The thread will continue running until it is asked to stop. Before implementing the loop logic, let's initialize the kernel thread. Inside the init function, after setting up the GPIO interrupt, we start the thread using kthread_on. We pass the thread function, set the private data to null, and give the thread a name, in this case, comp_waiter. Here I have not passing any private data, so this private data field is null. After that, we check if the thread creation failed. If there is an error, we retrieve it from the pointer. Then print a message to the kernel log. After that, free the IRQ and return the error. At this point, these steps should feel familiar, since we have repeated them in previous examples. If anything is unclear, please refer back to the earlier videos on GPIO interrupts and kernel threads. Next, I will add the completion signal inside the button ISR. So, every time the button is pressed, the ISR will execute and send a completion signal. To do that, we use the complete function and pass the address of the my_comp structure. Now, what does this actually do? It signals the completion event. The comp_waiter thread will be sleeping inside wait_for_completion. When complete is called, it increments an internal counter and wakes up the waiting thread. An important point to note is that complete is safe to use in interrupt context. It never sleeps, which is critical because we are inside an ISR and we cannot perform any blocking operations there. Before we move on to the thread loop implementation, there is an important detail to consider. Here, we are using a real hardware GPIO interrupt. If you have been following this series, you already know that debouncing can be an issue. If we do not handle debouncing properly, a single button press may generate multiple interrupts. This means multiple completion signals could be sent. If multiple threads or processes are waiting on the same completion, this can lead to unexpected or incorrect behavior. So, let's add a simple debounce check. First, we define a debounce time, for example, 20 milliseconds. Next, we need to store the last interrupt time. For that, we declare a variable called last_jiffies and initialize it to 0. Now, inside the ISR, before incrementing the press_count, we add the debounce logic. We check the difference between the current jiffies value and last_jiffies. If the difference is less than the debounce interval, here we need to convert milliseconds to jiffies. If this is true, that's mean debounce occurred. So that case we simply ignore this interrupt and return. Otherwise, we update last_jiffies with the current value and continue executing the ISR. This ensures that only valid button presses generate completion signals. I will do one more thing here. Just edit this message to indicate calling the complete. Now, let's move on to the thread function. Here, what we want to do is make the thread sleep until the ISR signals a completion. For that, we use the wait_for_completion function and pass the address of my_comp. This call will put the thread to sleep efficiently, and it will remain blocked until the ISR calls complete. Now, let's add a message to indicate the waiter thread is sleeping and waiting for a button press. Here, we need to return 0 from the thread function. One more important thing we should not forget. When the module is unloaded, we need to properly stop the thread to make sure everything is cleaned up correctly. So, inside the exit function, we call kthread_stop and pass the thread pointer. This ensures that the thread exits gracefully before the module is removed. Here, the thread will wait until the completion signal is received. Now, let's see this in action. First, build the module. Alright, the build was successful. Next, open the kernel log buffer in another terminal. Now, let's load the module. Alright, the module is loaded successfully. The thread has started, and now it is sleeping. So thread is sleeping inside here, wait_for_completion. Now, let's press the button. You can see that the GPIO interrupt occurred. The button count is increased and complete is called. This sends the completion signal and wakes up the waiting thread. Here, you can observe that the thread wakes up, prints the message, and then goes back to sleep again by calling wait for completion. So, everything is working as expected. Let's press the button one more time. Again, the thread wakes up and loops back. This confirms that every button press is correctly signaling the completion. Now, let's try to unload the module using sudo rm mod my_completion. Here, you can see that the module is not exiting. If we look at the exit function, we expect it to print the message indicating the driver is unloaded along with the total button press count. But the problem is with wait for completion. The thread is stuck waiting for a completion signal. Even though we call kthread_stop in the exit function, the thread cannot exit because it is blocked inside wait for completion. Now, observe what happens when we press the button. As soon as the completion is triggered, the thread wakes up, exits properly, and the module is finally unloaded. You can also see the total button press count printed. Here, when the button was pressed, complete was called and signaled the wait for completion and sleeping exits. Now, this is a K thread that will stop because of the RM mod, and finally unload the module and print the press count. So the issue is clear. If no button press occurs, the thread remains stuck and the module cannot be unloaded, even though we attempted to stop the thread. This is a limitation of wait for completion when used without a timeout. In the next step, let's see how we can solve this problem using a timeout, with wait for completion timeout. Now, let's add a timeout to solve this problem. First, we need to define a timeout value. I will set it to 5,000 milliseconds, which is 5 seconds. Next, we convert this timeout into jiffies, since the kernel works with jiffies as its internal time unit. So, we define a macro to convert milliseconds to jiffies. This conversion depends on the system's frequency value. For example, on Raspberry Pi, system frequency is typically 250. So 5,000 milliseconds becomes 1,250 jiffies. I have already explained this conversion earlier in the series. Now, inside the thread loop, we replace wait for completion with wait for completion timeout. Here, we pass the completion structure along with the timeout value. This function returns an unsigned long value. Let's store it in a variable. I will name it as ret. Now, this return value is very important. If the value is greater than 0, it means the completion was successful. The value itself represents how many jiffies were remaining when the event occurred. If the value is equal to 0, it means a timeout occurred. In other words, complete was not called within the given time window. So, based on this return value, let's print different messages. If ret is 0, we print a timeout message indicating that no button press occurred within 5 seconds. Otherwise, we print a message indicating that the thread woke up due to a button press, and we can also print the remaining jiffies. Now, there is one more important step. We must call reinit_completion. This resets the internal state of the completion so the thread can go back to sleep in the next loop iteration. And it is very important to call this after processing the event, not before. If we call it before, there is a risk that a button press occurring between reinitialization and the next wait call could be lost. Finally, after waking up from the wait, we again check k_thread_should_stop. If it returns true, we break out of the loop and allow the thread to exit cleanly. This modification ensures that even if no button is pressed, the thread periodically wakes up, checks whether it should stop, and allows the module to unload safely. Let me update this message to indicate this is timeout thread. Remove this semicolon. It is not necessary. This is just a macro. Alright, let's build the module. Okay, the build was successful. Now, open the kernel log buffer in another terminal and load the module. You can see that the module is loaded successfully. If we wait for 5 seconds, a timeout occurs, and a message is printed. Now, if I press the button, you can see that the GPIO interrupt occurs, and the ISR calls complete. The waiter_thread wakes up from wait for completion timeout, and it prints the remaining jiffies in the log message. So, everything is working correctly. Now, let's unload the module. You can see that it exits automatically after the timeout and unloads the module cleanly. There is no need to manually press the button anymore. This is how we use a timeout with completion. Now, let me show you another method. I have updated the code here. This time, I removed the timeout-based approach and replaced it with wait for completion interruptible. This works similarly to wait for completion. The thread will sleep until a completion signal is received. However, there is an important difference. With the interruptible version, if the thread receives a signal, for example, during module unload, it will wake up, break out, and exit cleanly. Now, let's look at the behavior. Let's load the module. OK, module loaded. Inside the thread loop, the thread goes to sleep, waiting for the completion signal. So, let's press the button to call the complete. When the button is pressed, the ISR calls complete, the thread wakes up, processes the event, and then goes back to sleep again. So far, it behaves just like wait for completion. But here is the key advantage. Now, let's try to unload the module. As soon as we run rmmod, you can see that the module unloads immediately. Waiter thread interrupted and break from the thread. This means the waiting thread was interrupted, it exited the loop, and the module was able to clean up properly. So, this approach avoids the blocking issue we saw earlier and allows a clean exit without requiring a button press or waiting for the timeout. One final thing. So far, in our examples, we used only one thread waiting for completion. Now, I have created two identical threads. Both threads are sleeping inside wait for completion interruptible. In the init function, I start both threads. And in the exit function, I stop both of them. Now, let's quickly see what happens in this scenario. Both threads are waiting on the same completion object. When the ISR calls complete, only one of the waiting threads will wake up. The other thread will continue to sleep. This is because a completion is designed to wake up a single waiter for each complete call. So, if you press the button once, only one thread wakes up and processes the event. If you press the button again, the other thread may wake up next, depending on scheduling. If we press the button multiple times, we can see only one at a time wake up from sleep. Let's remove the module. You can see both of them exit properly because both of them waits in the interruptible completion method. If your use case requires waking up all waiting threads at once, then you should use complete_all instead of complete. That will wake up every thread waiting on that completion object. In this README file, I have added some useful notes about the completion mechanism, so please make sure to check that out also. Also, I will include additional notes comparing kernel synchronization techniques, mutexes, spin locks, and completions, along with guidance on when to use each one. You can find those in a separate README file. All the source code and documentation are available in the GitHub repository. In the next video, we will explore work queues, so stay tuned for that. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.